What is happening, everybody, and welcome back to a small upgrade video. So in today's video we are going to do a spark plug upgrade. We are technically going to go from a higher range spark plug to one step colder spark plug. So if you guys have been subscribed to this channel for some time, you would actually know that this car is having so much ignition retardation. I'm having between 6 to 8, and you don't want to see any because that's knock, and knock is bad. So now the best thing is to maybe change the spark plugs and see if we can just minimize that ignition retardation just a little bit. If it's not that, it's probably because my intake temps are just too high. The intercoolers on this car is so small, it's just not efficient enough. And I've done a data log already and I proved to you guys that it was just horrible. So sorry guys, I'm not used to these cars just driving past like this. Usually I try to cut it out, but anyway, gotta get used to it. So what I'm gonna try to do is and see if the spark plugs work. If it doesn't work, we're gonna have to think of alternative routes to get rid of the knock, but one step at a time. So let me quickly go and show you the spark plugs that I got. And here we are at my lovely small table with some of the dog toys. My wife shouldn't see that. Let's just put it over there. So here is the spark plug. So these are the old spark plugs and these are the new spark plugs. So how do I know they are actually different? Good question. Let me just tilt them up like this. So here is the codes on them. So we are specifically looking at this top code over here, PFR 7S8EG. So the 7 is the heat range. So how NGK works is that the higher this number is, the colder the spark plug is. So that is a 7. And here we have an 8. So this spark plugs, the box is empty now. I've already installed it in a car. I think this is not going to be like a tutorial on how to install spark plugs or whatsoever. This is just to see, can the PFR8S8EG fix the ignition retardation? Is the retardation on these cars because of spark plugs or is it something else? So let's get into the car. Let's go do our dyno pool. Well, sorry, not a dyno pool, just a open road pool and see how the ignition retardation is compared to the old ones. Okay, so if you don't know how to test your ignition retardation, don't worry guys, I will drop a card for you in the top right corner. You can actually just go and click on it and then see how to do it. So I will be doing a third gear pool only. There we go. So I'm just quickly getting into the road. So we're gonna do a third gear only manual mode and let's see. I'm just gonna click start. There we go. Pool's good. Alright, so we just hit, our car automatically shifted. We're gonna slow down, stop. Okay, and that's literally all we had to do for our ignition retardation test. You might have heard a beep, that's just a speed alarm. Don't worry, the car is not gonna explode. But I must say, with these spark plugs we currently have in, sorry, it's just shaking so much. Sorry, I gotta get a different stand. So anyway, with the spark plugs I currently have in, I was really actually stressed out that it's gonna have a kind of a bit of a misfire or a rough idle or something like that, because you can't just go and drop any range of spark plugs in your car. If you go too cold, your car will struggle. Your spark plug has to be a certain temperature. So by actually having a colder spark plug, it actually helps with igniting properly and everything. Sorry, just some traffic going home. But anyway, okay, so what we're gonna do is we're quickly gonna go home. We're gonna go check out all the logs. To be honest, a quick personal overview of what I think of the spark plugs at this current moment is that it felt pretty good. It felt pretty good. The idle feels the same, the car roughly feels the same, but it felt like it had a little bit of a pull, like a pushback. But I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe it's just because I know I did something. So yeah, maybe it's just all in the mind. I'm not sure. So also the last time I data logged, obviously we got to compare previous against now. So the previous time I data logged, it was 30 degrees outside. It was super hot, smoking hot. Today my car says 27.5 degrees Celsius. So we gotta keep in mind we are, how much is that? 2.5 degrees Celsius colder. A lot of people might not think that it's a lot, but I like to give you guys as much info as possible. So let's quickly get back home and I'll show you guys quickly the log. So we are currently back home now, so we're going to quickly go over the review of the previous data log, and then we're going to compare it to the data log of just now. So I can't believe it went overcast pretty darn quick. So sorry, I need to work on better lighting in this area. So nevertheless, this is the old data log. So if we're going to click quickly on cylinder number 1, I just want to make sure everything is okay. Yes, everything looks good. Sorry, I just had to make sure the recording was fine. So if we go over the worst ignition retardation, it was minus 5.3 for cylinder 1. Cylinder 2, it was minus 3. Cylinder 3 looks like 4 over here, a 3.8. But this is after the, what do you call it, after the gearbox, after it's shifted. So there is something you guys need to know, that sometimes you'll have knocks at shifts. It doesn't necessarily mean it is a knock. It could have been a sound, because the knock sensor actually picks up noises in the engine. So obviously when you change gear, you got some knocking and the clutch is leaving and grabbing again and everything. So that is technically what happens at the gear shifts. It doesn't mean that there is actually knock. So we got to look at everything in front of the line. So this is where we actually let off. Sorry, if you guys are not aware, this is our entire RPM pool. This is where it shifted and let off. So obviously the car gripped over there. That's why we're seeing all these lines going to about 3.8. So let's quickly look at the final one. Oh gosh. What is this? An 8.31. So this was the previous log. So as you guys can see, I would say roughly we are at about 5 degrees, pulling an average of minus 5 degrees of ignition retardation. So let's quickly see. The highest is 8.31. The lowest is 2.3. But if we look here, the lowest is 3. So anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's quickly go to today's video. So here is the data log now. Let's quickly see how it went. Oh, here's number 1. So we do have still ignition retardation, but how much? 3 degrees, not too bad. Let's quickly compare it to the previous time. So that was 3 degrees. This is 5.3. It's a little bit better. Okay, so I assume cylinder 2 and 3 is going to be a little bit better. Cylinder number 2, nothing. Nothing. Oh yeah, baby. And as you guys can see over here, cylinder number 2, we have got it at what? Minus 3. And here we go at also minus 3. So it's already looking much better. So I must say the only bad thing about cylinder number 1 is that there was ignition retardation, but it was on for pretty long. Like, ignition retardation started here at 4,700 RPMs. It technically stopped as soon as we shifted. So, that is 6,035. So for 2,000 RPMs, the first gear actually, the first cylinder, it pulled out some timing. Okay, so let's quickly go and have a look at cylinder number 4, and I knew it. 1 and 4 for some reason is always having ignition retardation, but as you guys can see here, there was ignition retardation. It was at 3 and it lasted a little bit longer, but as you guys can see here by the RPM, there's a bend, and right over here it measured at minus 2.3. So that is just the gearbox. There's the gearbox engaging and disengaging, because that is after the RPM drop. Okay, so now we can see definitely without any other thing that the ignition retardation is minus 3. So already, well, that's only on 2 cylinders. So what? I would say the average is 1.5 then, because cylinder 2 and 3 is 0. So that's an average of 1.5. Compared to previously where it was like 5 degrees, minus 5 degrees ignition retardation. So already it shows me that there is still some knock, there is still place for some improvement. I do know the intercooler is very bad, so it's probably one of the things I'll have to look at next, or maybe something like water methanol injection. Oh yeah. So the good thing about water meth is I've been actually thinking about it. Just don't know if I'm going to do it anytime soon, because there's a lot of cost involved with it. But it injects ethanol with a 50% ratio of water, and it brings down your air intake temps a lot. But it gets actually a little bit complicated, because For example, if you inject too much, okay, we're gonna keep this stuff for another video. I've done so much research on it, but in other words, methylene injection, even on a boost system that's directly, it doesn't have an intercooler, can still work. Obviously not recommended to day and day, but it does actually work. It's one of the best ways to get your intake temps down and avoid ignition retardation. Also, it's an octane booster. I think I can boost your car from here where I live, we use 95, and in America, they use 93. But I saw a video that they say 93 and 95, they are compared to actually be the same. It's just different numeric numbers or something they use. So technically, let's say you're 93, it can bump it up to 105. And if you're 95, it can bump it up to average about 108. Obviously, it's maybe a little bit less. It's just an estimated. So it helps out a lot. And also, if you do know, we're gonna stop right here. These spark plugs definitely worked. I am so super happy with it. Look, obviously it wasn't needed for me to change the other spark plugs because I've literally just done what, 1,000 kilometers on it, or maybe 1,005. So these are brand new and they are doing wonders. So I would say keep on using your other spark plugs until you have to upgrade it one day, or well, have to change it, have to do your minor service. Then I would say jump into it, get a colder spark plug range. Like I mentioned to you guys, I did not notice any weird kind of vibrations that idle or cold start or nothing like that. It has been as smooth as ever. I was even wondering to myself, damn, did these guys maybe not doing me in, because the spark plugs even looks the same, everything looks the same, but it is one colder. So there we go. I do hope that this video helped you out. I do hope that it gave you like this little bit of an insight on what you can do to avoid ignition retardation. So anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please support me by subscribing to this video. And if you would love to see any similar video, you can hit any icon on the screen, and then I'll see all of you legends in my next video. But for now, peace out everyone.